Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the level 6 spells in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. Now, you only get one level 6 spell slot, so that's taken heavily into consideration with these because is it really worth it to use your level 6 spell on something like Arcane Gate? That's what we'll be talking about in this video. So, I guess first things first, Arcane Gate. Now, we have a few spells similar. We got the Misty Step at level 2 bonus action spell that we could use. We also have Dimension Door, which works very similar to Arcane Gate. Is Arcane Gate worth using your level 6 spell slot on? I would say probably not. There is a couple occasions in this game where this could be useful, where you have to travel a quick distance really fast. So like the House of Hope, you could save hope with this. And yeah, there's not many options where this is a good spell, but it does have some uses at times. So I'm going to put it probably, I would say in the F tier, but it does have some use, so it could be a C tier option. It's hard to say. It's only useful in those couple of situations. Other times, you're better off using Dimension Door as a level 4 spell. Next, we got Blade Barrier. This is a cleric spell, and it creates difficult terrain, and it deals piercing damage. It can be useful at certain times, but I feel like for a level 6 spell, there's much better that we got. And as we're talking cleric exclusives, there's also the Planar Ally, so that'll be a later one that we'll be talking about, which I think is much better. So Blade Barrier is not bad, but I just feel like of all the options, there's a lot better ones there. So I'm going to put Blade Barrier in the B tier because your damage options are much better for level 6 spells. So I think it's best to just use other spells. Next, we got Chain Lightning. This is an easy S tier. What makes Chain Lightning so great is it deals 80 damage normally, but you can set up Create Water, and this does 160 damage at max then, so doubled damage in water. What's also nice is if there's creatures that are resistant to lightning damage, which there's not a whole lot, but there are some that are resistant to lightning, you can use Create Water, and they lose that resistance and actually become vulnerable to it. So yeah, Create Water plus Chain Lightning is one of the most broken things in this game. If you have a sorcerer, you can use your Quicken spell to create water and then cast Chain Lightning. Or you can cast Haste on yourself, twin it, give yourself Haste, use that extra action to cast Create Water. And then on your next turn, if you have the 2 stat sticks that give you the free spell cast, you can cast 3 Chain Lightnings. The encounter's over at that point. It's extremely busted how powerful Chain Lightning is. Not even to get into the lightning builds or reverberation that you could get off with Chain Lightning. It's seriously so powerful, so yeah, it's an easy S tier, and there's lots of builds that you can build around with Chain Lightning too. Next, we got Circle of Death. Now, I see people putting this roughly around B tier, or even like lower in F tier. There's one way that this spell becomes easy S tier, in my opinion. So, Circle of Death, it deals necrotic damage, not an amazing damage type, but it deals it in a large area. It's like an explosion. And if you have this staff of cherished necromancy, which is gotten in Act 3, and you can get this really early in Act 3, what the staff of the cherished necromancy does, if you kill a target with a necromancy spell, you get their life essence, basically allowing you to cast another necromancy spell, and you can continually cast it. Pair this with taking the Necromancer Wizard, and that gives you 18 health back every time that you kill a target with Circle of Death. So, as a Necromancer Wizard, you can cast this, get 18 health back as a heal, and get your free cast of level 6 Circle of Death back, so you can continually cast this. With that setup, it's extremely powerful. I have to say it's an S tier at that point. If you don't have the Staff of Cherished Necromancy, I wouldn't use this spell personally, but it is an S tier spell if you can apply that logic, because the Staff of Cherished Necromancy allows you to continually cast it. And then on top of that, you're going to be healing 18, because the Necromancer Wizard gets to heal every time they kill a target with a spell. They get twice the leveled spell's health back, 3 times if it's a Necromancer spell. So if you kill someone with Chain Lightning, you get 12 health. If you kill someone with Circle of Death, you get 18, and you can continue to cast it. So enough said, extremely powerful in the right hands. Get the Staff of Cherished Necromancy. It's super easy to grab. Next, we have Create Undead. This gives you a level 6, or it's a mummy, and it's a stronger one than than your Animate Dead spells. I really like it. You can also get the Crypt Lord Ring, which gives you a free cast of this, so you don't have to use your level 6 spells. Not a lot of spells in this game get that free cast. There's only a couple that you can really get, so I would say that Create Undead is definitely an A tier. I like the Necromancer Wizards. I think they're a very powerful build, so you can kind of pair these together. And again, the free ring makes this a very powerful spell to have. The more summons that you have on your side, the better off you are. So that makes some builds really powerful. Like level 6 Conjure Elementals with the Myrmidons are really great. And I'm kind of weighing that against it because they would be a little bit better than the Create Undead, but still, very useful spell, and the fact you can get it for free is massive. Next, we have Disintegrate, and my opinion has changed on this. This is basically like the little death laser that Frieza shoots off in the games, or in Dragon Ball Z. It's cool in theory, but it's just weak in comparison to other spells, and it deals 50 to 100 damage, but it doesn't, the target can save on it, so I would say that it's probably a waste of your level 6 spell, because I've had times where this failed, and it just sucks to lose your spell, so yeah, I'm going to put it in the F tier. Next, we got Eye Bite. Now, Eye Bite I feel like is a bit underrated, and what it does is you can choose to put your target to sleep. You can, there's a few different options that you got with this one. So, Eye Bite is good on certain builds. Like if you have a Warlock build, Eye Bite's pretty nice, or even like a Necromancer Wizard, you can get some benefit from it. I think that Eye Bite in general, like some of these other spells are much better than it, and if you got access to this, you have access to some other good ones. So I would say it's a B tier. It's got some uses, but being able to put a target to sleep with no check is really nice. I think that Eye Bite is great use of your level 6 spell, but there's some better uses. So even a Create Undead, I think, is more mileage per spell slot usage. So yeah. Next we have Flesh of Stone, and this is probably the worst of these spells. The problem with this is you can turn a target to stone, but they have to fail 3 saving throws and then become petrified. And then also there is items that can remove Petrify, and Greater Restoration will also remove it. So, while it is useful, yes, it's just not worth a level 6 spell slot when you have to wait 3 turns for the effect to take hold, and the target can resist it. So, yeah, there's other options out there. Next we got Globe of Invulnerability. This is an easy S tier because you can add in, like if you have a full caster and you add in 1 level of Wizard, you can scribe this spell. And what's nice about it is it doesn't use any checks. So if you have like 8 intelligence and you use this as a wizard, you're still going to hold off the Glow of Invulnerability. It's not going to fail. So this can be a total party kill avoider. So definitely useful. There's some fights, especially like Act 3, like the Viconia fight, I found this was extremely useful for that. Also, if you have a cleric and they're using the Shield of Faith, that summon can be put inside the Globe of Invulnerability, and it can attack without losing its health, because typically it's going to attack for 20 damage, and it loses that 20 off of its health, but inside of this, it won't. So, nice little bonus action there. Next, we got Harm, and what this does is it reduces the target's max health points, but here's a that does sound good, doesn't it? But, when have you ever had a fight where the target has been out-healed in terms of their health? It's pretty rare. That I don't even think that does happen. So, well, it's nice to reduce a target's health points. If this was like a PvP game, yeah, it'd be good, but it's not. So I would say that Harm is probably an F tier because you're just better off doing other spells. The health reduction's nice, yeah, but Circle of Death will hit an area of effect and you can continually cast it. So it's a little bit better. Whereas Harm, reducing its health doesn't really end up changing the course of the battle any. So I have to put that in the F tier. I might even put Arcane Gate up to C tier because yeah, there is use for this, whereas these not as much. Next we got Heal. Now Heal is interesting because it gives you a flat 70 heal. That can be a game changer for some, and I don't typically like to use actions to heal in Baldur's Gate 3. But sometimes you do need that, oh shit, the safety button. For that, I'm going to put it in the B tier. Also, I want to mention that if you're playing as the Dark Urge and you have someone cast this on you, you get a special interaction. You get a nice memory that you didn't have previously get revealed to you. So, yeah, it actually has some nice usefulness, and that's why I'm going to put it in the B tier because a 70 health point heal is useful in situations. I feel like these are very situational, and heal can be a game changer if you need that 70 health. I think that the best way to go about the action economy in Baldur's Gate 3 is to harm targets versus heal them. So, yeah, take those names literally. But harming is better than healing. Still, it has some usefulness because if your team is about to go down, this can be a savior. Next, we got Hero's Feast. This is an easy S tier. It increases your team's health by, I think it's 12 or 13. It makes them resistant to poison damage. It gives them proficiency in wisdom saving throws. Extremely useful. Now, here is something fun that not a lot of people know. What you can actually do is you can have a druid or a cleric, which are the only two that gets Hero's Feast. You can have one in your party at camp, and they can cast Hero's Feast on the whole team. They get the bonuses from this, and then take that person off your party and put someone else in. So you'll get all the benefits of Hero's Feast on 3/4 of your party. That is huge. I wouldn't outright recommend taking this normally. Like, having someone at your camp to apply this to everyone, super useful. But outside of that, it's still extremely useful, yes. But I do think that it's best to keep it as a camp cast. Another funny thing is if you cast Hero's Feast, it brings up pizza. Like, it literally makes pizza on the ground. I think that's super funny, so it also gets points for that. But yeah, have someone at your camp apply it to everyone, and you'll be laughing. You can also have I have a whole video on how to do this, but you can have a cleric at your camp cast Death Ward and Freedom of Movement and a bunch of other spells, Long Strider, etc., and that Aid as well. This will actually stack with Aid, so if you upcast Aid to level 6, which gives you plus 25 health, you can also cast Hero's Feast and get a plus 12 health, so really nice. Next, we got Odaluk's Freezing Sphere. Now, I'm torn on this because I love cold damage and I love lightning damage. So, in theory, you'd think I'd like this. It does a 10d6, I believe, of lightning, or 10d6 of cold damage. You can create this Freezing Sphere and hold on to it, or you can create it and throw it. Now, another cool thing is you can actually create it and then have a mage hand run in with it and explode it. So that's another option you can go with, but for cold builds, I think that it's best to even just go with Chain Lightning, because if you're going with if you're doing Create Water and you're using Ice, use Chain Lightning. Save your level 6 spell. I'm going to still put it in the A tier, because if you do want to go with an Ice Mage build, this works really well for that. Like, it's still, it's a good spell. Chain Lightning is just a bit better because it can spread to multiple targets and it deals more damage. But there is some times where Odaluk's Freezing Spear can be kind of nice. And yeah, especially if you're going with the full ice build, if you got like the ice methods, a water elemental, you can really set up a lot of potential with the damage there. It's probably like B tier, A tier, depending on how you use your team. Next, we got Otto's Irresistible Dance. I would put in the S tier for how funny it is to see someone do the little jig that they do whenever they get hit with it, but it's not as good. They actually nerfed this spell. You used to be able to cast it, and then the target was, if they failed to save, they would be dancing for 10 turns, but now they get a wisdom saving throw they can have a wisdom saving throw at the end of each turn to resist it, so it went from being completely busted broken S tier down to, I would say it's a B tier option now. I still think it's one of the funniest spells in the game. It's a fun, satisfying one to get off, but the fact that they can do a wisdom saving throw and get themselves out of it kind of made it a little bit less good for its level 6 spell, you know? You can only apply this crowd control to one target, and it used to be really good. You could shut down Raphael in like seconds with that, but it's not that good. Whenever it lost, it was basically a crowd control guaranteed, and then it lost that. So there's some other crowd control that we'll talk about here. Next, we got Planar Ally. I think that this is another A tier. Probably somewhere around there. It's hard to rank these within their levels, but Planar Ally, what does it do? You can summon in one of 3 different otherworldly entities for aid. So you can get a Diva, you can get a Genie, and you can get a Cambion. The Cambion's kind of the weakest of the 3, I would say, but even so, they're all really great because they have about 130, somewhere in that range of health. They will take aggro from your team. The Cambion's good if you're fighting against fire because it has a fire resistance, but the Diva can heal your team and revive. It has Revivify, so it can revive them as well. I like the Genie or the Diva myself, personally, but this is a Cleric spell at level 11 that they get. Extremely useful. It's almost like Cleric is a hard multi-class because of how good Planar Ally is. If you've never used Planar Ally, I recommend taking a Cleric all the way up to level 11 and using it, and just trying out all 3 of them because that extra damage it can deal is actually really nice. And they get both Planar Ally and they also get the spiritual weapons. So Clerics are actually pretty good in terms of summons, and they also get they get Animate Undead as well. So pretty nice. Next, we have Sunbeam. The saving grace for this is that you can get it in Act 1 with the Blood of Lathlander mace. And it gets a free cast of that, and you can continually move this as a concentration. So, pew, 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 pew. It's basically like Kamehameha from Dragon Ball, but it's radiant damage, which is okay. By the time you get it in Act 3, there's actually a few targets that will reflect radiant damage, so it can actually take you out if you use this. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like Sunbeam is good. If you're using it because you got it from the Blood of Lathander, it's probably S tier, but as a spell to take and use a level 6 spell slot on, I'd probably say it's C tier. It's just not as good as some of the other spells out there. So Yeah, if you're a cleric at level 12 or 11, take Planar Ally. Sunbeam's okay, but the other spells are better. Next, we got Wall of Ice, and I really, really wish this was better, because again, I mentioned, I love ice builds, I love lightning builds. Wall of Ice is just, Wall of Fire is good, it does less damage than a Fireball, but it's still a decent bit of damage. Wall of Ice, the targets can break it and it creates an icy mist, but I found that the AI never goes anywhere near my ice wall. Every time that I've used this spell, it's just been a waste. So I am going to put in the C tier because it could be useful. It could definitely be useful. I love the create water teams, and that could be a really good spell. But if you're an ice sorcerer, you're better off taking Odaluk's Freezing Spear over Wall of Ice. And then even so, you're better off taking Chain Lightning if you're an ice sorcerer or ice wizard. So Chain Lightning, probably the best of the three that can be set up with Create Water. Next, we have Wall of Thorns. This is an interesting one. It's like Blade Barrier, but for druids and better. Now, what it does on top of Blade Barrier makes difficult terrain. This will entangle the targets. So what does entangle do? It gives us advantage on attack rolls against them and gives them disadvantage on their attack rolls. Giving a target disadvantage on its attack roll is one of the best things that you can do in this game because it basically makes it so you're not getting hit. I'm going to put it in the A tier because of that. I think it's an underrated spell. I don't see a lot of people talking about how great Wall of Thorns is, but it's satisfying. This can be a game winner. Like if you get into a combat encounter and you place Wall of Thorns correctly, you won the encounter. It's one of those spells like Chain Lightning, Global Vulnerability, and even Wall of Thorns that if you do it correctly, if you do it really well, if you get that 200 IQ big brain play with it, you win. It's a game winner. So yeah, I would say it's probably A tier. It could be S tier too, even if you feel like, yeah, it could be an A tier. Especially if you have someone with the Ballast Armor that increases creates vulnerability to piercing damage. It'll deal double damage, which is really nice. So it's like Wall of Ice, but way better. Finally, we got Windwalk. Silly level 6 spell uses. This is gaseous form for your entire team, so it can turn them into little gaseous form. Not that good, I'll be honest. There's pretty much no use for this spell. I guess it'd probably be something like this. It's the worst of the level 6 spells. Yeah, there's so many better ways that you can go about doing something that if you want to like turn into a gaseous form, have one do it and have them fly away from the party. There's also another level 6 spell. It was technically labeled as a level 5 spell, but it's the Speedy Steely. I forget the name of it, but it's basically Planar Ally, but only for a diva. It's a hidden spell that only a wizard can scribe long term. It's in the Sorcerous Sundries. It's a level 5, 6. It's technically level 6, but basically it's the summon diva spell. You can only summon a diva, so it's like Planar Ally, but yeah, I would also put it in the S tier because it is really nice. The diva or Genie is probably the best of the Planar Allies, so yeah. There is my level 6 spells tier list in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know in the comments what you think, where you would place some of these. I always love reading the comments on these because it's a lot of fun hearing other people's thoughts, because I could have overlooked something. Maybe Disintegrate's a lot better than I thought it was, but or even Windwalk, who knows. But yeah, if you found this video fun or useful, please hit that subscribe button below. I appreciate any and all support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.